I interrupt this live stream because my guest is apparently having technical difficulties. The dude's a little on the old side, guys. So bear with us here as we do this. I'm just going to stream to say hi to everybody while we wait for this. He's having trouble getting into StreamYard. Says it wants him to log into his account. Okay, he just sent me a voicemail message. Let's see. He just says he's trying to get on through Google Chrome, and I don't know. If I could go to his house and give him tech support, I would, but I can't because he's back east. I don't know. Maybe he could try his phone. I don't know if the guy has a phone, or he might have a flip phone. This guy's kind of old. So, yeah. Full boomer tech, my friends. It's okay. I like old people. I'm not ageist. I like my old people. That's why I'm inviting the guy on. I think he's got a lot of wealth of knowledge that I'm very excited about trying to get him on the show here. Maybe we should have. I didn't realize that somebody would actually have an issue with StreamYard because it's pretty self-explanatory. So I thought that it would not cause a problem. So I didn't give him the link until like an hour ago. But apparently it is a problem. So, well, good morning. Let's just say hi to the chat, my friends. I'll say hi to my channel members. Thank you for becoming channel members, everybody. And of course, supporting the channel here. Captain Bipto, hello. Good to see you. God of Plague. I like all the guesses for who the guest is, by the way. You're not going to get it. Prater7, hello. How's it going? H is for Heretic. Good to see you, my friend. Tastus Jones, glad to see you. Art Gaines, glad to see you. If we can't get this to work, what's another way to get this to work? Is there another way to get this to work other than Stream? Not really. I'm on StreamYard already. Claudius the 8th, good to see you. Drake, my friend, good to see you. Quaff, good to see you. It's the Quaff. And hello. So what's going on? Special guest cider hype. That would be epic if I did that. I should do that one day. Hi, there's a special guest, and it's me. I'm your special guest. So I guess while we're here and waiting, I'll just talk about stuff I like. Mainly my books, because I'm very excited right now. I got a great review for Steam and Country put up. I'll just filibuster by reading a review of my own book because this is awesome. I love this. This just went up on here on thepulp.net. And I can't tech support the guy. I can't see what's going on over there. Unfortunately. We're waiting for our special guest. If you guys are here, I didn't even run intros. I just came on to tell you that we're waiting on our special. Very nice of me not to run intro. I could just run intros if I wanted to, because we have all these intro videos that are fun, super fun intro videos. Schmack talk. But here we are. Look at this new pulp review by Michael. Thank you, Michael. I picked up for Steam and Country recently. It's the first in the series of young adult novels, The Adventures of Baron von Monocle by John Delarose. That's me. I like this. Good start. He's having trouble still. Our guest is typing. Hold on. Our guest is typing. He says, all it does is going to the website, wants me to sign up to create an account. Well, then create an account. I don't know what to say other than that. It's actual. Every time I see this word now, that's all I think. A popular YA steampunk series. Yes, it is. 30,000 copies sold of this book, which is a genre I didn't know existed. It really doesn't exist. That's kind of the fun part about all this is steampunk. That's why I wrote this, because back in the day, I looked at steampunk, and what I did is I liked all the cosplay. So I was at the conventions. I saw all the cool people in their like little steampunk doohickey gadgety doos, and I thought, that looks cool. And I decided to write my own book. And then I looked at the steampunk genre on Amazon, and all it was like romance novels set in Victorian period, but they had werewolves and vampires. And so it was basically the same thing you get in every like genre that pretends to be a genre. And so nobody had any real action adventure books. And I was like, well, gosh, I can write an action adventure book and call it steampunk. And I don't even have to say, like, steampunk doesn't have to be Victorian. It could be in a fantasy world too. So I made a fantasy world and I wrote an action adventure novel. And then I sold a ton of books. It was great. It's also a part of a loose group of works being called the Iron Age, similar to the Platinum, Gold, Silver, and Bronze Age of comics. I don't know a lot about this Iron Age movement. I know a lot about it. I am the leader of the Iron Age movement. If you guys didn't see this, I've made sure now, just in case you guys didn't know, I am the leader of the Iron Age. I am the leader of Comicsgate. I am the leader now of the Sad Puppies. I am the leader of the Fandom Menace, and I am the leader of I'm the president of the Manosphere, and the leader of Gamergate. All of them. So thank you for voting me into this position. It's great. Skies of Fire is fucking awesome. I love it. If you like Skies of Fire, you'll like my novel series for sure, if you haven't read it. Anyway, so those are all my credentials at this point. I'm going to write up a press release declaring myself leader of all these things later today. That was one of my things I was going to do. These guys are going to throw a fit at me. It's pretty funny. Is what it is. They all abandoned, everybody who was in charge of these things abandoned. Let's see. Let's see. In the end of your link there, that's the actual stream. StreamYard by itself. So now he's at a spot where he's got an account, but he's not figured out how to get into this stream. And he's trying to create a live stream. Very odd. This is what happens when you have a guest who's not technologically inept, not technology adept is the deal. I'm waiting on our guest, everybody, who is he's on the older side. He's trying to figure this out. Let's just okay. So should I also be the top G? I don't want to be the top G. That's the one thing I don't want to be. I could get the clip of her as a guest, incidentally. I don't know if I want to. Would you guys want to yell at him? Oh, gosh. I could. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, so where were I? Don't know a lot about the Iron Age movement. Many of the works I've seen overlap, in my opinion, with new pulp. I see sword and sorcery works, traditional action adventure stories, and the like. Noted this is part of a series now up to 6 volumes so far, and there's more coming. And I actually did a comic. There are some short stories as well, not clear on their sources. I am clear on their sources. They're on my Subscribestar. I'm going to compile, because people have forgotten where a lot of these short stories and all that were posted a lot of the time. I post most of my short story stuff to here. So there's a bunch of Verslandia short stories that tie into this. I'll make them all in one post just to make it easy for everybody on there. So please get on here, support our fiction. Thank you for allowing me to. Let's see. I don't know that this guy's going to be able to figure out how to click the StreamYard link and just get on here. Huh. This could be a problem. I wish I could help this guy. Should I try to call him? Let's see. Let's see if I can call him. All right. Could he, maybe he could show me his screen. Should I video chat you and you can show me your screen? I'm not super tech adept, but I can try. I don't know. I've never seen somebody have trouble getting into StreamYard like this. So when I enter the link, I get a page with 8 results. Lohan StreamYard, sign up, choose your StreamYard plan, Facebook access, welcome to StreamYard blog. When I enter that link, what happens when I enter the link? When I enter the link, it just says entering the studio. Huh. That's weird. Huh. I don't know. We'll see if you can get in. I just said just log in on your phone. I don't know. I'm trying, chat. I know this is the most entertaining stream ever, but what can you do? I figured it'd be better just go live rather than have a problem. If you can't make it in, then we're just going to cover Liam. That's it. We'll figure it out. Okay, as noted, this part of 6 volumes, and I gave you the sources for the short stories. Please get on the subscribe star, as I said, guys. This is always good stuff, and we're trying to build up a movement through here. And I like subscribe star because then I'm providing the stories off of Amazon or off of Indiegogo or any of that crap. It's a really nice way to get around big tech delivery too. So it's all good in the hood. Okay, the series set in an alternate world whose highest tech is steam. This means they have steam-powered horseless carriages, steam-powered airships, and these heavier-than-air vehicles with large rotating turbines. Yes, and there's a reason for that, and I develop that much later. You get to learn about all this stuff. Weapons are swords, guns, I think at best semi-automatic, and cannons. Yes, correct, semi-automatic. It's not clear how much of the world has been discovered at this point. I would have loved to have seen a map of the book. I do have a map of the book on my website here that he's alluding to. And for this first story, set on the continent of Aerith, more precisely in the Rosandian Peninsula, which is divided into 2 nations. One is the Good Guy Nation, the Rosandian Kingdom, under the fair rule of King Malachy the 16th. Hail. The other is the expansionist Wyranth Empire under the rule of the mysterious Iron Emperor, who are bad guys, whose name is Ivan. You'll find out eventually. He says, wait. I'm going to wait. Our guest says, wait. We meet many of our main characters in the first few chapters. Our heroine, actually, is Zara von Monocle. She's 16, the only daughter of Baron Theodore von Monocle, who's been missing. This is a great synopsis. For years, and is thought dead. Cool. Her mother is the late Liliana, former duchess of a foreign land now ruled by the Wyranth. If you think she's been living the easy, pampered life of a baron's daughter, you'll be very wrong. She struggles to maintain her farm, bringing in crops to help support herself with little help. Her close neighbors include the young James Gentry, who dreams of joining the Knights of the Crystal Spire, an elite fighting force in Rislandia. And is he a possible love interest or not? Yeah, it's my book. That's what I do. Good stuff. He says, wait. Our guest says, wait. He's trying to figure out the tech element of this. He did not say, hold up. No, it was not hold up, hold up, hold up. It was just wait. One wait. Waiting for our guest. He's awesome. I'm so stoked for our guest, guys. I really hope this works because I've been waiting for this. I'm so excited. And that's all. We soon meet Matthias Dugearsmith, her father's lawyer. There seems to be more to him than that. And Captain Talion von Kravitz, who is the captain of the airship Liliana. Interestingly enough, when Rislandia built its first 5 airships, the king decided that the noblemen in charge of each one would be the actual owners of their ships. I should always press that button when I say that word. I'm not telling you who the guest is still. Mystery and suspense. When I was at a comic retailer shop yesterday, one of the things he said was that there's not a lot of mystery and suspense anymore, and you don't get surprised anymore, and you get exactly what you're looking for when you go to the comic shop. So you go to the comic shop, you've pre-ordered Amazing Spidey-Man, and you're just going to get your Amazing Spidey-Man book and go home, and you know what's in it, you know what the story's about, you know what who the artist is, everything. And so you have no spontaneity whatsoever to comic books anymore. And this is what the retailer said. And so this is going to be not what you expect whatsoever. This stream is going to, if he can indeed get in here and figure out the tech here, this is not going to be what you're expecting whatsoever. I can tell you that right now. and it's going to be very informative, and it's going to be a huge deep dive, like the title says, and it's going to be really cool. And it's for people who actually love comics. That's what I'll tell you right now. Yes, it's Dane. Actual fandom. No, it's not. But he is working on getting this going. The phone says the page is not on the server. What the heck? Huh. How is this not working? How do I not? Let me see. Invite. Really weird. Jack. Let's see. Okay. I don't know. I mean, the link works for me and it doesn't work for him. So I have no idea why. I have no idea why it would work for me. Let me see if it works for somebody else. Who's here who can try this out? I'm going to give the link to Prime, but then I'm going to kick Prime immediately, or Einbrecht, because he's in the chat. Einbrecht, I'm gonna give you the link just to test it, and then I'm gonna boot you. I'm giving it to someone else to test. See if this works. So I gave Einbrecht the link to save the stream, and let's see if it works or if StreamYard is saying it's not working. Yeah, well, of course it's a him. Why would it be? It couldn't be a woman if it's comics history. Let's be honest. Let's see if Einbrecht can figure out the link here. If he's still here. Hi, Al Nickerson. How are you today? Yes, it's Stan Lee. They're trying to Weekend at Bernie's him and prop him up. Yeah, Einbrecht. So the link worked.
Yeah, looks like the link works just fine.
Okay. Worked for him.
Yep, the link works just fine. So
that's weird.
It might just be a Boomer issue.
Yeah. So I mean, the guy. Let me. How old do you think we got here? Wait, he's here. I'm kicking you, Einbrecht. Get off my show. Get off my show, Einbrecht. Gosh. Okay, everybody. I am so pleased right now to announce the great, the hero of comics. This guy really is such a legend. You don't know he's a legend. And I'm going to explain why he's an ultimate legend in comics right now. I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited, like beyond anybody I've ever guested on, ever. Okay? Drum roll. We have Jack C. Harris from the DC Comics, and we got you on the show. It worked.
Finally. Yes. My phone. I don't know why nothing else worked, but my phone seems to be working.
Your phone's working. That's fantastic. Right. Okay. Excellent. I was filibustering with the chat. I was reading a review of one of my books because somebody wrote this really nice review. And it's always really nice to get nice reviews of books. And so I'm going to do a nice review of your book.
Thank you.
Afterwards as well. And so he just came out with this wonderful book, my friends, called Working with Ditko right here. And this is why we have him on the show. Oh, you've got one too. Nice. Yeah. I'm glad.
I have quite a few, actually.
Yes. So this is going to be a Ditko show. Great stuff. I was so excited about this book this week. I could not put it down. And you did it right. You really did it thematically right by Ditko because you just completely talked about the work. And that's what he was about. All he cared about was the work. And it's a great thing. And you had a great experience with him. I actually had Tom DeFalco on about a year and a half ago. And that was one of the first things I asked him. I'm like, was Ditko like a angry recluse or what? Because he's presented as that, right?
Right.
And he's like, no, the guy just came into my office, got a cup of coffee, said hi every morning. He was a sweet man.
Right, exactly. A really nice guy.
Yeah.
Just very shy and private.
Very shy and private, which is good. I mean, that's cool. And I wrote an essay about this. There's a comic fanzine that wanted me to write. They gave me carte blanche to write anything. And I wrote about Ditko the other day that it's kind of a double-edged sword. One, I appreciate the fact that he was so into his principles, so into his work. He a hard worker, I guess. I mean, you'd know. So I mean, as his editor, he was a hard worker, turned in stuff on time, like
always, never
always.
missed a deadline, never misinterpreted a script, none of that. Just total professional in every way.
Good guy with on-time books, chat. That's
Absolutely.
Good. Excellent. And so that's pretty cool. And so that's a great thing. And his ethic on this is really interesting to me. And so I don't know the guy. I've read his essays. I get everything Robin Snyder puts out, and I love Robin. And I've read all of his independent works and his kind of political cartoons, and then his stuff, making fun of Stan Lee and all that. And I've looked at it, and it seems like, and I don't know if I interpreted this wrong. You can tell me, I guess, as somebody who kind of knew him a little better. Like, he seems averse to marketing. Like, marketing itself is, I guess, for lack of a better word, sinful. Is that true?
Like I said, he never really talked about it. He just didn't participate in it. He just if he didn't like something, he just cut it out of his life. He didn't.
Oh, wow.
He just didn't talk about it, didn't react to it. If he didn't like it, for instance, if he was working on a series and the writer changed something, did something to the character that Steve didn't like, he would just say, "Okay, I'm done with this. Thank you very much. Bye." And that was it. He wouldn't.
So there just wouldn't be a discussion.
Wouldn't be a discussion. Just move on to something else. That's the way he was. That's
really weird. In a collaborative art, that's kind of difficult. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's really nice on the. His principles are admirable on that level, but on the other front of just like having to get a comic book out there, like I'm sure half the writers who he worked with would have been like, "Oh, you're Steve Ditko, and this is what you want. Okay, cool. I'll adjust this." Right?
That's what I did. We used to have long talks, and I would try to ascertain from that what he wanted to draw, what he liked to draw, and that's the kind of stuff I would try to create for him. That I knew that as long as he liked it, he would draw it, and with all of his creative energy behind it. If he was enjoying the character, he would do that. Once it went away he didn't like, he would just not do it anymore. He wouldn't have an argument about it or even a discussion. Just, okay, I'm going to go on to something else. Thank you very much. And that would be the end of it.
Yeah. And I actually, as I went through your book here, I mean, not only did you work with him through DC, but you continued on with him through Robin Snyder's publications and all that, which, I mean, to me, it sounds like he liked you and what you were doing pretty much if he kept working with you for that long.
As I mentioned in the book, my office became his haven at DC. The way the office was arranged in DC, there was a reception area, and then you'd walk down the hallway, and that was where all the editorial offices were, like in a row. And right out in front of my office was the bullpen, which was a bunch of cubicles where there were typewriters and drawing boards set up for freelancers who could come in and work there or make corrections and things there. So that's where all the guys would hang out. They'd hang out in that bullpen. At any given time, there would be 3 to 4 artists and writers hanging out in that area. And my office was right across from that. Well, Steve would come in and he would see people there, and he didn't want to sit around and socialize with anybody. So he would duck into my office. And if he was sitting in the chair, which was against the wall, from the outside, you couldn't see if there was anybody in my office. So he could sit there and, nobody would bother him. And whenever the editor he came to see was free, then he would get up and go down and see him. But otherwise, he would just sit in my office. And he was friendly. And if anybody came in, and saw him there, he would engage them in conversation and be very friendly to them. But he wouldn't go out and mingle with the crowd. He wouldn't do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So a shy guy all the way. The other thing that our good friend Jack Harris here is responsible for is one of the greatest modern achievement in comic books. Of course, I'm talking this series right here. Yes. I told you a few days ago, like when I this is one of the few things I had just gotten into comics at about 12 years old when this came out. And I was on Amazing Spider-Man for my aunt got me a subscription for my birthday or something like that.
Nice.
And so they just started showing up in the mail, and I got that, and then of course, I think Maximum Carnage was hitting similarly around this time too. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's back. Oh, I got a phone call. I can't hear you. This is my technical problem now. Let me. This is where Cider is usually on the show, my co-host, who's not here.
Okay.
But he usually says, hit the like and subscribe button. John can't hear you. Subscribe to the channel, all that stuff at this point. But I got to turn off my headphones and back on again. Okay, I should be able to hear you now.
I can hear you.
Cool. I think this came out around that same time, if I recall. And this character debuted in an Amazing Spider-Man annual, which I got through the subscription at the time.
Right.
And then, of course, I just I started going down to the local comic shop here. And I literally bought this because it said from the pages of Amazing Spider-Man on the top.
Well, if you hold that cover up, you see the space underneath his right hand, the one that's not glowing. Originally, there was a figure of Spider-Man swinging in from the background.
Oh, and they edited it out?
But they took it out. I don't know why, but they did. Originally, he was
it probably would have sold more if that was there. I mean, this is how
that was my thought.
Shops think. Yeah,
my thought exactly. Put Spider-Man on the cover, that would help, but they took him off.
But this was a fun story, a cool character, and I really enjoyed it at the time. So thank you for providing me enjoyment when I was a kid. So,
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a fun character to write.
Yeah. So all right. So you started with Ditko towards, I think you said House of Mystery was kind of the first stuff. Is that the one?
The stuff I wrote for him. I
wrote for him. Okay.
I was editing Shade the Changing Man. That was the first time we worked together.
That's right. And if you guys want to try to find some of this old stuff, this omnibus right here, the Steve Ditko omnibus, has the bulk of this work in here. Mm-hmm. And so let's see how badly out of print and expensive this is now. This is always a fun rabbit hole. The Steve Ditko omnibus. This is the problem with these collected editions. They don't do often. You can't even find it on Amazon. This is great. One.
I have a couple copies in the other room.
Oh, geez. Well, you guys might have to get them directly from Jack here if you want it. I found volume 2 on Amazon, even though Amazon has, I'm going to rant about Amazon for a second, has ruined their algorithm so much that you are looking for a book, Steve Ditko Omnibus 1. This does exist. I literally have it in my hand. But Steve Ditko Omnibus 2 comes up, and that does not come up. So that's amazing. So how do I find one?
I would go on eBay if I were you.
We can go to eBay. It's not on Amazon. So we'll go to eBay. Let's check this out. Steve Ditko Omnibus Volume 1. And this one is now, oh yeah, you're looking at $100. There's volume 2. There's one of them. Let's find it. Let's see if there's a lower one. Oh my gosh, this has really gone up in price. There's volume 2. You can get both of them for $155.
Absolutely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. $95 is the cheapest you can get this for. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. This is why you buy this stuff now. And of course, this one, I think this one's even worse. The Creeper, which you did a lot of work for also.
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't do any work on the regular run of the Creeper. The ones that were in World's Finest are the ones
I think this includes both of those.
Does it have both of them in there?
Yes, it's got all the World's Finest stuff in here too.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
And it even has the canceled comic Cavalcade issue. Cool.
Oh, those are good too. Right.
So I've actually not read this yet. So this is I've read all I've read all of your shorts that you did, and but I have not read the Creeper serial there. So let's see. The Creeper, is it called the Creeper Omnibus? You're gonna have a heart attack for how much the Creeper by Steve how much your work is worth these days. Hardcover. Yeah. Looks like $75 is the cheapest you can get this one for.
Be nice if
And
they
this
send
is-
me some of that money. That would...
I know, right? Does DC? So that's a great question. Does DC, when they come out with these omnibuses or whatnot, do they give you any royalties for this
Oh yeah,
at all?
we
or-
get
Oh, that's good.
for writing. There's no royalties for editing.
Okay. All right.
But for writing, yeah, I always get royalties from, but quarterly. I get a check from both DC and Marvel quarterly for stuff that they reprint. It ranges anywhere from, $25 to $600 depending on where they printed it and how much.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
You never know.
that's good. That's pretty good to get those this long later. I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, like 40 years later, I'm still getting money.
that's pretty cool.
Sometimes the royalty checks are bigger than what I got paid for it originally, which I thought was kind of
That's funny.
yeah.
So great question too. So 1978. What does a DC editor get paid per? Did you get per page or
No, the editing was a staff job.
A staff job. So you just had a salary. Okay.
Yeah, salary job on that. The freelance, I think I started out at like 15 a page, and I got up to like 25, 30 at the end the last thing.
For writing?
Yeah, for writing. Yeah.
$25, $30 a page. That's rough. Jeez.
Yeah, way back. But the royalties, like I said, the royalties sometimes are better than the original price I got for it, depending on what format they put it in. Like the Omnibus is pretty. I mean, depending on again how well they sold. If they sold real well, then I get more money. But let's
here's
put it
Jack's
this way.
book here. If you want to get this on Amazon,
yeah.
And there looks like be one copy left here. And then on In Stock Trades is a great place. So guys, they discount things here, so you can get it for 20% off on In Stock Trade. They don't. You can get it on In Stock Trades. I'll put both those links there, so you can pick this book up too.
You can still get it directly from Tomorrow's as well.
Okay, cool. Tomorrow's Publishing. So I've seen they've been doing a lot that's really caught my attention lately. So how'd you hook up with them, and who are Tomorrow's Publishing exactly?
Well, I had they do a number of magazines like Back Issue and a few other things like that, and they often interview me for articles on those magazines. And whenever I'm quoted in the magazine, they send me a copy of it. So I have a whole stack of their magazines, and then there's some of their books I really like, so I picked them up. So I'm very familiar with their work. And what happened is during the pandemic, I cleaned up my whole house, which I've never done before in my life. I actually have a organized garage, which it's never happened ever. And so in doing that, when I was finished, I realized I had a huge stack of material from Ditko. And I said, there's enough here to do a book. So I emailed John Morrow and said, I have a whole lot of material that I did with Steve. Would you be interested in doing a book on that? And he goes, absolutely. We would definitely be interested in that. So I went through it. I put it in some sort of semblance of order, and I sent him an outline, and he said, yes, do it. And we signed a contract, and I wrote it. It took me a couple of months to write it. And then last year at the Baltimore convention, I hand delivered the manuscript and some flash drives with all the art scanned into it. And then almost a year later, they produced the book. So
beautiful.
It was great. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of stuff from them. A lot of people are talking about Back Issue in the chat. I probably should know about this stuff because I'm big into the comic history like this. But I discovered them when they did they did a Kirby hardcover of some unreleased stuff from the 70s, I think called like Dingbats in Love or something, which was a mashup of a couple of his works that got canceled or weren't published last year. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I got they did another Simon and Kirby thing from their sort of failed publishing attempt in the 50s where they started a publisher and compiled that a couple months ago too.
They have hundreds.
So
They have hundreds
yeah,
of books on
really cool.
history of comics. It's really a great
Yeah,
stuff and beautifully
wonderful
produced.
stuff right here.
They're very classy editions. I know, like I was surprised, very pleased to find out that they did the Ditko book in full color. The whole book is in color, which I didn't expect, and I was very happy to see that.
Oh, that made my day too. I mean, you get to see some of these beautiful colors from back in the day.
Yeah,
and
really nice.
I'll see if I can. I think let me find this really cool work from Shade the Changing Man right here, guys.
Oh yeah, that montage cover they did. Yeah, it's a nice montage.
They got the colors very nice. So they really. I was just talking to Dan DiDio yesterday about how colors in comics have changed, but the way that they used to be very crisp and I mean, you only had a few options back then for the printer, and
right.
So they wouldn't step on the line art so much. These days, colors like often you'll see them like almost erase the lines at points to add their shadings in, and it's a very different ball game than it used to be.
Absolutely.
Look at Ditko's stuff here. He always drew the creepiest, weirdest stuff.
That was great. That was that was the only time I got to do House of Mystery covers. The one.
And you had, I think, the Superman image he did was full page in here also, if I can recall.
I don't think there's a Superman image in my book, but there
did not make it.
No, I didn't have anything to do with that, so he didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought it was, but maybe I'm wrong.
That was in like the 500th issue of Superman or something like that. I forget.
Yeah,
it's a whole bunch of like everybody in the industry drew a picture of Superman. So Steve did one of those.
So we got a bunch of course, black and white.
There's an image that he did. There's an image in my book of Superboy that he did.
Superboy, maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah,
beautiful. And this is from the later Robin Snyder publications, guys. So you can see like loaded with art, and you actually get to see a bunch of like layouts and stuff like that that he did also. Did you have all this just sitting around?
Every time he brought something in, I Xeroxed it.
Oh, that's smart of you. Cool.
I still have all of them. And for everyone you saw in the book, there must be like 3 or 4 others that I didn't put in the book.
Wow.
I have whole stories Xeroxed of his layouts and stuff, before anybody saw any of it. And it was great. I'm trying to find that Superboy picture. Let's see, where is it? It's in here somewhere. Because I like the fact that he would do established characters. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, you found it.
Superboy.
There it is. That's the one I was thinking of. Yes, yeah. I thought it was Superman. Yep. Yeah. Cool.
This is great.
Beautiful.
And I have that. And the one thing I put in the book is the one time he drew Wonder Woman, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's cool too. Yeah. So lots of loaded pictures, art here. And, I learned a lot more about just kind of the 80s publishing through Renegade and all that. I actually, I've got a lot of the stuff here. I've got the face. I don't think you had anything to do with the face. And then where's my revolver? Here we are. Revolver. This is a very interesting book. And actually, you had an image of this in there. This is a cool book, guys, that you might want to check out right here from Renegade Press in the 80s. So I bought these a while back. I got a I got a checklist of Steve Ditko stuff, and I went through and I bought a bunch of this stuff because I knew like this is like sadly like there's not going to be collected editions of this, and I really love those nice. I love the hardcover collected editions, obviously. But this stuff really isn't getting now that well. I don't know. This is an interesting question. Do you own rights to that? And can you make collected editions of these things? That's an interesting question right there.
Yeah, I own the rights to just about all of the stuff I did with Steve. The Star Guider that I did with that shows in Revolver, it's still mine. It's still mine. But we only did 3 stories. So there's not a whole lot if you wanted to reprint it.
Well, there is as like a Steve Ditko indie publishing omnibus. This is how I'm thinking. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. And, I did the 3D books that I did with Ray Zone. We did two issues, which I think is about 3 stories that we did for the Substance character, and I own the rights to that too. So
Oh, wow.
maybe someday I will put them all together. And
You have all this fun stuff going on.
Yeah, that'd be-
So that's interesting. So I actually, of my checklist, I didn't buy everything, and actually going through this when I started reading about your stories about warp and about substance, I just went to eBay and started buying these. I'm like, I don't have these. I need these.
Okay.
So they're
Yeah.
on the way right now. I've
Good.
not read those yet, and I'm excited to get those. So thank you for helping me discover a bunch of work that's like not even out there too. I mean,
Right.
that's the other cool part about this. I mean, you might not even know that a lot of this stuff, even Revolver, a lot of people don't know it exists at this point, and they're not expensive, guys. You can get these for, you can find lots of like all of Revolver for like 10-15 bucks on eBay. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
And then you get these great stories. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. It originally the stuff that appeared in Revolver was originally for Gold Key Comics, but they went out of business. Fortunately, they hadn't published it yet, so it's still they reverted the rights back to me. If it had been published by Gold Key, then they would have owned it, but they never published it, so it's now still mine. Which is
That's
nice.
exciting. That's fun stuff right there. So there's a lot of that. I mean, the comic industry is always in turmoil, I guess. It sounds like.
Well, the word I
yeah.
put is in flux. It's always
in
changing,
flux.
It's because it's populated with so many freelancers. People
Right.
working freelance, and they have their own schedules, their own way of working, and they're not going to, if the corporate schedule doesn't fit what they're interested in doing, they'll just move on, and you have to find somebody else. And that's why things change so quickly and so often.
Did you? So were you kind of forced to wind down from the DC implosion at that company also, or was
Well,
did
no,
you kind
I
of survive that and then move
no,
on
I mean,
afterwards? Or
I did survive that, but it was just we had to just do things differently. We had to do less, and then we tried to find our footing after that, because it was a bit of a devastating thing. I mean, there was a lot of freelancers that lost a lot of work at the end of that, and we slowly started to climb our way back, but it took a long, long time. I don't think they ever got back to where they really were, but
yeah.
it was a tough period of time. But
And were you there through Crisis, or had you left DC before that point?
I left in '85, I think. So whenever,
It's about right when it was happening.
Yeah, right when that happened. Right.
So that was the big change in DC, and it seems like I don't know. From my perspective now, it seems like they got a big boost from Crisis, and then the subsequent what happened afterwards.
All that. I mean,
so
they got very good at doing multi-issue stories, and for instance, the death of Superman was a huge boost for them. And then, of course, the movies came along. All the Batman films and the Superman. I remember I was there when the first Superman movie came out, and it was great. We were like riding high when that movie came out. And when the Batman movie followed it beyond it, that was even bigger than Superman, just for the company. People were buying Batman comics, that people who had believed that Batman was no longer published because they thought it ended with the television show. So when the Batman movie came out, they go, "Oh yeah, he's still around," and the sales boosted up for that too. So it was good.
Interesting. Do you think that sort of long form multi-issue storytelling thing ended up hurting comics like in the long term, or did that was that difficult to deal with style wise when you're used to 2 and 8 pages? Or
it's like this. I taught for about 35 years at the School of Visual Arts. I taught writing for comics, and one of the things I always tell my students, I say, look, no matter what you're writing, you have to imagine that the book you're writing is going to be somebody's first comic book. It's going to be somebody's first comic book that they've ever read. So you have to give them a self-contained story so that they don't feel cheated. Because if you pick up a comic and you're reading and you're all excited, and then you get to the end and it's continued and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, you're going to really feel like you didn't get your money's worth. So
I had a problem with that recently.
What?
I picked up
Yeah.
just to review for the channel here because I don't pick up a lot of single issues or modern comics at this point. And I picked up a new Amazing Spider-Man. I had that very same thought that I was in it, and I was very confused. I'm like, what's going on here? Why is Mary Jane dating some random guy?
Right. Yeah.
Who are all the
Yeah.
and there were so many different things and I was like, this is so confusing. There's so much. There's like a red goblin, a queen goblin. There's a zillion goblins,
See,
and
it's
I'm
a
like,
problem.
I don't know who's who. And I left that message. Somebody actually came in and left the message saying, how you came in the middle of an arc. You need to read this storyline from 3 years
Right.
ago to understand
Right.
this. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to do that.
No, the thing is, and you can write stories like that. You can write
Yeah.
stories that help you like that. For instance, if you look at a television show today, they would go like previously on whatever show you're watching, and they give you a
Right.
recap. Well, in comic books, you can do that, which is possible. But another way to do it is in the storyline. The characters can talk about what just happened. The character can be reacting to what happened in the previous issue, and therefore fill the readers in on what's going on. And they can do
Yes.
it in an entertaining way. And then you can have a conflict in that issue, and you can resolve it. But then you can have other things that are plot threads that can drift off into the next issue. If you look at the early Marvel comics, and I'm talking about after like the first or second year of the Fantastic Four, that's what Stan Lee was doing. He would do a story where the Fantastic Four would face some menace and they would defeat it, but then whatever Johnny Storm's problem wasn't resolved, and that you'd pick up on the next issue. But it wasn't that important that you would feel cheated if you didn't get the end of that. If you look at, I think, number 4, Fantastic Four number 4, is where they introduced the Submariner back into the line. If you read that
Right.
comic, at the end of the 3rd issue, the Torch quit. He quit the Fantastic Four. So when you pick up the issue, the first thing you see is the other 3 members of the Fantastic Four talking about, we have to find the Torch. The Torch is out there somewhere. We have to find him. And they go looking for him. So that immediately fills you in on what happened in the previous issue, that the Torch had left. And then
and that's fulfilling for the people who read the previous
right,
issue, because
exactly.
they're like, oh, cool. I like this. Actually, that issue mattered.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So then
Yeah.
the Torch finds Submariner and they have a battle and they defeat him. The end. But he gets away. He doesn't got captured. So in the next issue, they introduced Dr. Doom. And that starts out with the Torch, a different one. But it starts out with the Dr. Doom attacking the Fantastic Four, and you learn all about him. Then in the 6th issue, Dr. Doom teams up with Submariner, and they battle the Fantastic Four.
So it all ties together, but each individual issue has its own deal.
It was the first time that Stan Lee realized that he could just continue the story on and on and on, and he didn't have to finish it. But each one of those separate issues, 4, 5, and 6, are self-contained. In other words, you can pick them up in any order and read them, and you feel satisfied that you got a full issue. So when they did the multiple issue storylines, I think the ones that worked the best, and I really can't put my finger on specifics, but the ones that worked the best are the ones where something was resolved in each issue that you picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Exactly.
you got a full story, and then you can go on and move to the other one. And they do that in television all the time. They have the soap opera of the characters, and then whatever problem they have, like if you like a medical show. I
thought the best show ever to do that was Babylon 5. Babylon 5 really picked up every episode had its own thing, but it gradually built this story too.
That's right.
It was really excellent. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. The medical shows are they always come sort of medical problem and they resolve it, but then the love life of the doctors is not resolved, and that goes on to the next issue, next episode. So that's the way comics should work. So if you do a multiple issue thing, fine. But I think where they lose readers is where you pick up an issue and it's like a you have one piece of the puzzle and you don't have the rest of the
Yeah.
puzzle.
A lot of these middle issues now don't have enough story at all to even ground you
That's right.
in where they are.
That's
So
right.
it's
You just
it's kind of
can't.
tough. Yeah.
It's like the old movie series. You ever watch any of the old movie series from the 40s? They have a cliffhanger at the end of every episode, but then in the next episode they recap the whole thing. So you know how he got in the trap, and this time they show you how he got out. But it's you got to fill everybody in. You got to assume that every book is the first book that someone's writing every
Smart.
time.
Now, where do you started mentioning Stan Lee, and of course, I think a lot of Ditko's sort of reputation of being, kind of a recluse and kind of maybe angry or whatnot, just came from a lot of his essays about Stan Lee and all that over the years. Overall, like, I mean, just as somebody outside who's, I don't know how much you interacted with Stan, but obviously you interacted with Steve a lot. Do you think there was a lot of just like not talking to each other going on, and
Well,
more than
like I
anything
said,
else, or
as I mentioned in the book, I never actually talked to Steve about his work at Marvel. I
right?
just never brought up. Now, I learned that it wasn't a good idea to bring it up, so I didn't. But from what I've heard about Stan from other people is that Stan took credit for everything. And that's not necessarily a malicious thing. Stan took credit for everything because he couldn't remember who created it all. So he
There's
said,
too
I
much
know I
going on.
wrote it.
Yeah.
But did the artist come up with that, or did somebody else? I don't remember. So I'll just say, yeah, I wrote that. And that's how he operated. He just took. And then the corporate people who wanted to have Stan as a brand went along with that. They just said, oh, Stan created everything. And they just sort of perpetuated that myth. It wasn't really true, but they rolled with it. That's the way they went. I know that Steve. If you look at Steve's work, the work I did with him, and you look back at those early Spider-Mans, it's obvious that Steve was plotting all of the stories.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Stan
I could tell.
He might say, "Oh, the villain is the Scorpion," and then that's all he said to Steve, and then Steve drew the whole story, and plotted the whole story. And then Stan would come back and do the dialogue. And that's from what I understand. Like, again, I never talked to Steve about it, but the big contention that they had, the conflict they had, is that Steve wanted more credit for plotting and creating the stories than Stan was willing to give him.
Interesting. Now, I understand you mentioned that you started kind of working in the Marvel method with him as well, which I guess at DC, that's not, they kind of laid things out panel by panel as a writer.
Yeah,
Generally, it was a different deal.
A script at DC looked like a movie script where you're
Okay.
describing every scene and all the dialogue and everything. And Marvel, you just sort of describe the page. This page, this happens. Next page, this happens. And then they give the page back to you, and you had to write the dialogue to fit the panel arrangement that the artist had come up with. Writers prefer the full script because they have more control over the pacing of the story. Marvel-wise, the artists pace the story. And unless they're a really good storyteller, sometimes that's the problem. Luckily, people like Steve Ditko and people like Jack Kirby, people like Gene Colan, they were good storytellers. So that wasn't a problem because they could put a story together, and they knew which panel should be the biggest on a page, where the action should be emphasized on a page.
That's the thing. You got to have an excellent storyteller in order to do that. Otherwise, it becomes a mess, right?
Some of the younger artists don't know that. Like I read some years ago, it was an issue of the Justice League of America, and it was some sort of relaunch. I forget exactly what issue it was, but it was like #1. And I read that story 3 times, and it didn't make sense at all. I mean, one page did not lead into the next. You'd see something here, and then all of a sudden something was going on the next page. I said, well, what happened in between that? How did this character get to this point? And one of the writers I have talked to, one of the younger writers, he was equating it with a video game, and he said, a video game player is responsible to get the character from point A to point B. That's his responsibility. And he was writing comics like that. He says, well, how did he get from page 2 to page 3? Well, the readers can figure that out. That was his excuse. He says, because they do that on video games, so they can do that in the comic book too. And I just thought, no, I can't see story going that way. So that I thought was one of the reasons they started doing that.
I feel like there's been a lot of video game influence, especially in recent stuff. And it kind of takes away from the immersion because you don't feel like you're reading about somebody real at this point. You're reading about, a character that you can press start on, press stop on, and then reset, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've seen comics these days where the guys are in their costumes and they never get out of them. And they do nothing but whatever mission they're on. And there's nothing about who they are when they're not being the super character. There's nothing about their day-to-day life, none of that. And it's like a video game. You don't see people stopping to have dinner at a video game,
Right.
Like I remember I was always proud. I actually was the very first person to write a scene in Wonder Woman where she has to go to the ladies' room. No one ever did that before. I mean, she had to go in there to change her costume, but no one ever actually had her go into the ladies' room for any other reason. So, but the everyday lives of things. I mean, I remember Stan did that with some of the early X-Men stories. He would have a backup story with like the origin or a day in the life of, Cyclops. And
that was really cool.
Background information about them. And it really made the main story much more interesting if you knew the character beyond his super persona.
Now that's a lot harder in these like 8-page serials that like Ditko would do now, but he packs so much into 8 pages. His 8 pages is another artist's 16 pages, right? I mean,
9 panels on a page,
Yeah, wild.
No one else did that as well as Steve.
If I asked an artist to do that, they'd not want to work for me.
I've tried to do that once with the artist, and he just said, "No, I'm not doing that." I refuse to do that.
We got Hero Bergenberg in the chat, who is a fan of yours, and he says, ask Jack how he helped to found the modern age of gorgeous superheroines for DC: Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Starfire, Isis, Batgirl. So you worked on all these characters?
I did. I think
Wow.
I mentioned in the book, at some point they thought I was the female expert, which of course is nonsense. But
Does your wife think that though?
No, of course not.
No. Okay.
No one is a female expert, not even a female. But I got to write all the heroines. Someone the other day posted a picture of all the DC heroines, and I mentioned I wrote every one of them except Zatanna. I never wrote a Zatanna story. But
what was your Supergirl work? Because I fashioned myself a Supergirl expert
in Superman Family. When they combined all the books, Superman Family, they assigned me to the Supergirl, which I really loved doing. Had a lot of fun with that. I had a lot of good people on it with me, and that was very early on, and I was learning a lot, and a lot of people helped me along those ways. But
so that was after the 70s series where she was in college, or was that before?
Well, she was working in a college when I started writing her. I gave her a job at a soap opera, which was kind of fun.
That's cute.
And right down the street from DC was a studio that they were filmed a soap opera in. I forget which one, Days of Our Lives, or one of those, daytime soap operas. And I went down there, and I told them what I was doing. They let me tour the studio. So I got a lot of information for the Supergirl stories from that studio that was down the street from where DC was at the time in New York. And I gave her. I made Wonder Woman. I made Diana Prince an astronaut. I wanted to give her. She joined NASA at one point, and things like that. And I just like to give them a more modern touch of changing what they were doing, give them something more interesting to do in their other lives. I mean, that's what I liked about the early Supermans. I mean, he was just as busy being Clark Kent as he was being Superman.
That was always my problem with actually a lot of DC, because I grew up on Marvel, obviously, and I kind of found DC stuff later through artists I liked or whatnot. But my problem with DC was there was a lot less focus on the personal life, the personal drama, like overall, from what I could tell. So yeah, I'm glad you did that.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I always liked Iron Man. I mean, because Tony Stark would also be just as busy running his company and inventing stuff
Yeah.
as he was being Iron Man, which I thought was wonderful. I thought that was great stuff. And I love that. I love the first Iron Man movie because they put like the first year or two of Iron Man stories in that movie, and I thought that was really good. And he showed Tony Stark for who he was as a person before he became Iron Man. And I mean, then later things they did with him I thought were brilliant too, where he had a drinking problem at one point, and it was great stuff.
Steve didn't like that. Steve Ditko did not like that.
No,
I don't know if you read his essay on that.
He did not like a flawed hero. If you were a hero,
Yeah.
you were a hero 24/7. You
Yes.
couldn't have any kind of flaws like that. No, he wouldn't go for that at all. If you read the Blue Beetle and the Question, they're the same character, whether they're wearing the costume or not. Same thing with the Creeper too. He was the same. Jack Ryder was the same guy. He was just acting a little weird as the Creeper, but he was the same. He acted the same way. I mean, he was. In fact, Steve really didn't like Clark Kent being the meek, mild-mannered reporter. He never worked on Superman, but he would want him to be, a hard-hitting reporter who was like, that the underworld would be afraid of because he was.
And he liked the reporter archetype for that in his later work too. I know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah,
he did a lot of that.
Cool. So if there's one line or one Ditko Harris Ditko product, I don't know how you want to phrase that. Collaboration. Which for somebody to start, just to like check out what you guys did together, what would you recommend as your like top one?
Well, if you can get a hold of those revolvers, read the Starguider stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's the one that we developed the most. We had enough material for that to run a couple of years. We had really worked that one out.
That's this right here, Robin Snyder's Revolver, and we're gonna do our eBay search. I've got it, so you guys don't have to worry about stealing it from me at this point. So Robin Snyder's Revolver.
I think there's 2 stories in that first issue, and I think there's a third one in another issue. So I think that's how it goes. But there's a lot of things you'll read in there. You'll wonder about what was going on, and we had it all worked out. Like one of the things I mentioned is that he's in a place called the Stellar Wilderness, and there's a place called Center Star, which is an artificial star, and there's 49 moons revolving around it. Now the question is, why would you call it a moon if it's revolving around a star? Moons revolve around planets, and there's a reason for that, but we didn't reveal it yet. And there also used to be 50 moons, but one of them's gone, and we're not going to tell you why or how yet. That's part of the story.
Awesome. And these are not expensive on eBay, guys. You can get pretty much every issue for $5 or under if you hunt for it. So pretty good. Awesome. But we also at first you should probably buy your current book. I mean,
yes.
Yes. Cool. I'm going to put these links again in the chat for people to pick this up. And there was a Tomorrow's link too, which I lost already. Tomorrow's Working with Ditko.
Right.
There it is. Let me grab this for you guys. I love this book so much. I'm going to do a full-on review of it, but like I was so happy to read this weekend, guys. I can't state enough of how this is just like such important comics history. That's wonderful. So check out exactly what Jack's done here, and appreciate you coming on the show. So
it was fun.
It wouldn't be a Ditko show though if I did so. And I always like to say that my Ditko is bigger than yours. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I'm going to show off my big Ditko. I'll show you exactly how big it is right here. You ready, chat? Oh yes, here's
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a big
thing,
one.
This thing is half my size and 25 pounds.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe when they put this out. I was like, this is ridiculous. And it's definitely too unwieldy to even read. It
You have
turns
to
out,
build a
but-
whole new bookshelf for that.
And that's of course my favorite pun of all time. So, so there we go. Check things out. Are you writing any current comics or anything like that, Jack?
No, I'm not currently. I call myself semi-retired, but I'm basically retired. But I spend a lot of time reading the old stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Me too.
too. All right.
Well, thanks for dealing with the technical issues and coming on. We really appreciate you and your contribution to comics here.
Glad we
And
got
have a great
through
day.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you soon, chat.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.